What's up guys, it's Gem Games here, and in this video we're going to create this full target shooter game. So if you're a beginner wanting to learn Unreal Engine 5, this is perfect video for you. Because in this video we are going through all the basic things that you will have to know before creating your own game. So without any further ado, let's get to work. So let's start by creating a new project on the games. And first person, let's call this target shooter. And yeah, we want it to be blueprints and we don't need starter content nor the ray tracing. So let's create it. And so after that it has loaded, you should be looking the same thing here. And now you want to go to the first link in the description that will take you to my Google Drive, where you can download this target shooter resources folder. Okay, and also to the other link in the description, it will take you to my marketplace removed content or files. Here you have this military weapon dark. You want to download this whole folder. Okay, now you want to go back to your project and you want to go to the first person and to the blueprints. And you can actually delete PP weapon component, PP pickup rifle, PP first person projectile. Delete all of these. Now let's right click and create a new folder. That will be called animations. Okay, and let's create another folder that will be called models. Now let's open the animations folder and let's go to the target shooter and to the animations, and let's move all these animations to here and let's import them. Now you have to select the skeleton. So you want to select the Eski mannequin arm skeleton. So this one. Okay. And import all. Okay. Now you should have these animations here and they should be working. Okay. So the next thing will be you want to go back to the blueprints and you want to go to the models. Now to the folder that you downloaded, to the models. Here you want to import target FBX and target PNG. And import all. Okay, I don't know why the PNG file didn't get here. Let's import it again. Okay, I had some weird problems, but now I have it here. So let's open the material 004. And here, let's move this next to the first person map. Here we can delete this constant 3 vector. Now we want to right click and search for a texture sample like this. Now we want to get the RGB and connect to the base color. Now here, let's click on this and let's select our texture. Let's search for a target text, this one. Now let's apply. Let's save. And we can close this. Now you should see that the static mesh has the texture on it. Okay. So the next thing what we want to do, you want to go to the folder where you have downloaded the military weapon dark pack. Then you want to open the data folder and the content folder. Now you have this military weapon dark here. Now what you want to do, here on your target shooter, you want to click on the right click on the content and show in Explorer like this. Now you are at the root of this project. Now what you want to do is you want to get the downloaded military weapon dark under the content and you want to move it to here. Now if you import it this way, when you open it, everything should be working. So FPS FX. Let's see if, for example, assault rifle muzzle flash is working, because we will need that. Yes, it is working like it's supposed to work. Now, what else we want to do is we want to import one more thing, but this we can get from the fab. So you want to go to your browser and you want to go to the fab.com. You want to log in, and then you want to search for a FPS weapon bundle, and you want to click from the price, and you want to make it free. And here at the first you can see this FPS weapon bundle. You want to click on that, and you want to click on download, and it will tell you Unreal Engine files are available in our Epic Games Launcher. Okay, now you want to go to your Epic Games Launcher and to the library, and you want to scroll all the way down and search for a FPS weapon bundle. I found it before that, but you can write it completely if you cannot see it. Now you want to add it to project, show all projects, and you want to search for a target shooter. Okay, select version. You want to select the latest that you can, so 4.27, and add to project. It will take a little while. Okay, it didn't take that long. Now you can close this, and you want to go back to your game. Now you should have this FPS weapon bundle here with weapons, meshes, and you have all these. So we can, for example, open the KA74U. We have all these static meshes here. So this is pretty nice. So now let's close this, let's go back to the blueprints. Now, one thing that I want to do, so we can later on like navigate easier. So let's right click on the blueprints and let's set color. I always like to set the blueprints color to some shade of like this light blue, something like this. I think you can see when you have a lot of folders open here, you can see the blueprints a lot easier. Okay. So now we can go to the PP first person character. And if it opens it as a separate window, you want to drag and move it next to the first person map, so it's easier to. I think this is better, but it's only my opinion. Okay. Now we have this B has rifle variable. We can delete that. Yes, delete. Also, we have. Okay, we actually don't have anything else. Let's compile. Let's see. Yes, we don't have anything else. Now let's go to the viewport. Okay. Now here we can click on this first person mesh under the first person camera, and we want to actually rename this to the hands or hands mesh or whatever, but hands is okay. Now what we want to do, we want to animation mode. Let's use a animation asset just so we can test things. We'll later on add the animation blueprint, but we will create our own. So now anim to play. Let's search for a Air 1 idle. Okay. Now what we want to do, we want to add on the set rotation. We want to add -90. Now we want to set the X to -5. Y can be 0 and set -170. You can play with these values, but these are good for me. But don't like adjust them a lot because it will change them like pretty much. Now what we want to do here, we want to make sure that we have the hands selected. Then we want to click add and we want to search for a skill mesh or however you say that. Now we want to change this name to the weapon or weapon mesh or whatever. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure the weapon is selected. Then we want to select skeletal mesh asset, and we want to select our SK underscore KA74U, and let's see which one. I want to use the X one. Okay. Now you can just move the weapon to be somewhere around here. It doesn't matter. We will add it with code. So let's Just move it there. Or you can just move it under here. It doesn't matter. You can leave it wherever you want. We will make it work. Okay? So the next thing what we want to do, we want to compile and let's save all just to be sure. We had 7 unsaved things. Now let's go back to the first person map. Here we want to go to the first person arms and to the character and to the mesh. And here we have this Eski mannequin's arm skeleton. Let's click on that. Now let's search for our hand R. And we want to right click on that and we want to add a socket. So we will basically add the socket so we can connect the weapon to that. Okay, so let's add socket. Let's call this socket, let's just call it gun. Okay, now let's preview animation, AR1 idle. And let's click from somewhere around here and drag a little bit and release. It will pause the animation. I know there are other ways of pausing that, but let's do it like that. Now, here, what we want to do, we want to right click on the gun and we want to add preview asset. And we want to search for a KA74UX. So the one that we added to our player. Now you can see it's not aligning correctly. And one more thing, let's click here on the camera speed and let's change it to 2. So now when you right click on this viewport and you move with A, S, D and W keys, you can move, but not that fast. Now you can keep the right button pressed and you can rotate, and with the Q you can go lower and with E you can go higher. So let's find our good spot where we can see everything correctly. Now let's click on the gun socket and we want to rotate this. Rotate it, rotate. Somewhere around there, I think. So it should be around 0, 0 and 160 on the set. I think that's good rotation. Now let's click on the gun again and let's press W. It will change this mode to the movement. And with E you can change it to the rotation and R to the scale, but let's W so we can move. Now let's move it to around 13. I think it's around. Okay, it's there. So around 7 point something units there, and a little bit more up. And let's actually go closer so we can see it. So it's not actually good. So let's move it there, here. You can just make it align nicely. But yeah, we're viewing from basically this position. So I think this is already looking super nice. So you can copy this if you want, minus 11.5, 4.2, and 1.86 if you want, or you can set it however you want. So now let's save. We can actually close this Eski mannequin arm skeleton window. Now here on the BB first person character, we want to go to the construction script, which should be opened here. If it's not, you can click on the functions and double click from here. Now on the construction script, what we want to do here, we want to first get our weapon to here. This is reference to our weapon. Now we want to get the hands. This is reference to our hand smash. Now we want to get from the hands, and we want to attach component to component. So we are attaching two components to each other. Sorry, I did this incorrectly. So you want to keep Alt clicked, pressed, and you want to left click on this. It will delete this link. Okay. So we want to connect the weapon to the target and hands to the parent. So we are connect the hands will be the parent and weapon will be the target. Now we want to connect this so it will actually play. Now the socket name will be the gun that we just created. You want to check that you write it correctly with the capitals and stuff like that. Now let's location rule. We want to make it snap to target, so it will snap to the socket. Rotation rule, the same, snap to target. And scale rule, snap to target. That way it will be basically welded to that socket. It will never move from that, before, at least if we don't make it move from that or detach from that or something like that. So let's compile. Let's actually save all again. Now, when we go to the first person map and we play, but let's not click on this yet. Let's click on these three dots and let's play in new editor window, because this will basically simulate the normal gameplay view. Because if you play on viewport, you will see on this window that you can adjust, but for example, the HUDs and everything like that will not like scale correctly. So from here, new editor window. Okay, actually, we have to do one more thing first. So let's cancel. Let's go to the content browser. If you get this message log to somewhere else than here, you want to just close it or move it to or something else. So now on the content browser, what we want to do here on the first person arms, on the animations, we have this first person anim blueprint. So we can actually delete all of these. We don't need any of these. So let's click on the first. Let's keep shift pressed. So click on the last. It will select everything in between. Now delete. Take a little while. Now we can force delete. Only thing that happens is the blueprint PP first person character will close now because we had reference to it. It will always do it like that. So let's wait for this to happen. Now you can see the blueprint closed. So now let's go. Now we can actually just play. I will show you quickly. When we play, you can see we have the idle animation playing and we have the weapon on our hands pretty nicely. And my computer is lagging for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, it doesn't matter. So now we can close these first person arms and we want to go back to the blueprints folder. Okay, now let's open again the BP first person character. And let's go to our event graph. We can actually close this construction script. And now, here on the event graph, what we want to do. We want to actually first get our reference to the PP first person game mode. So how we can get it is we want to right click on here, on the top part where we have event begin play. Let's right click on here and let's get a get game mode. Now we want to track from this return value, we have the reference to the game mode. We have to cast to it to actually be able to promote the reference to a variable. So let's cast to first person game mode. Let's connect from here. Here we have to always connect these. Otherwise, if you leave it like this, this doesn't play because it plays on this order from here to here, after from here to here, and so on. So you have to connect this. Now from here, now we have the reference to that. Now we want to promote it to a variable so we can access it later. So let's get from this. Let's release and promote to variable. Now we have our variables here. We want to click on this and we want to press F2 so we can change the name. Now let's call this game mode underscore ref. So like reference, you know. And yeah, now we have reference to that game mode. We can access it whenever we want on the editor, on this blueprint actually. So let's compile. Let's save all again. Unreal 5 is crashing a lot, so I'm saving everything pretty often. So the next thing what we want to do here is, I think we should create the sprinting functionality. It is so simple. So first we want to create a few variables. Let's actually close these components by clicking this. So now we only have these variables that we have created that are not components. So let's click on the plus variable. Normally it will be type Boolean as default. When you change this, the next will be the same type. But for now, it will be Boolean. The first one will be called printing. And Boolean is just like true or false. So yes or no. So we can set something that we want to yes or no. So we can check later on if we are sprinting or we are not sprinting. Okay. Let's create another one. This will be called firing or shooting or whatever. So this will do the same. It will be Boolean, this red one. Now, we want to go to the edit and to the project settings. And on the project settings, we want to go under the engine. We have this input here. You want to click on that. Action mappings. Let's create a action mapping. This will be called print. Now you can map this to whatever key you want, but you can just click from select the key value. Now when it's yellow, you can click, for example, shift on your keyboard. Left, shift, like that. Let's add another action mapping. This will be called fire or shoot or whatever. And I will map it to the left mouse button. Left mouse button. Okay. Now you don't even have to save. I think these settings save like automatically, or at least when I have closed when I have not saved and I have closed this the project, they have always been saved. So okay, let's close this. And yeah, I'm not sure if we yeah, it is saved. So what we want to do now, here under all of this default code, under the jump input, we want to right click and we want to search for a input action sprint. Let's just search for a sprint. Sorry, input action event, input action sprint. So now you have this event that you have mapped to the shift key. So when you press shift, it will play this. When you release, it will play this. Simple as that. Now we want to add a branch. So let's right click and search for a branch. And actually, I can tell you one thing. When we delete this and we just keep B button pressed on our keyboard and we left click, it will spawn this branch. This is the easier way, but I just wanted to show you that you can also search for it. Now from the pressed, we want to check. So branch will just check if some variable is, if the condition like is true or false, as you can see from here. You can also use like float values. If you check like if it's greater or less or equal or whatever, it will basically turn into Boolean. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to create a new function called can sprint. This is just ruling if we can sprint or not. This will be as simple as we want to get our sprinting. You can just drag it from here. You want to get from it and you want to get not Boolean like this. You can actually make it your favorite by clicking from here. Not Boolean. And then you want to get the firing. You want to also get the not Boolean. Now you can see it a lot faster because it's your favorite. You want to make it like that because we will be using this a lot and you will normally use this a lot on your code. At least I am using. Now we want to check if we are not sprinting nor we are firing. And we want to check that both of these has to be true. So and Boolean. So we are not sprinting nor we are firing. Then what we want to do, let's click from here. Let's add an output. Let's move it to here and let's connect here. Now let's change this output name to can sprint. Oh, not sprint, sprint. So if we are not sprinting and we are not firing, we can sprint. Now we want to click this. Actually, I will show this differently. So let's compile. Let's actually save again. We can close this. And here on the event graph, now on the branch, when we get this can sprint, it will be this blue node that you have to connect. But if you click on the pure from here, you can make it this green one. So now you don't have to connect it. It doesn't have the input or output like execute pins. So now you can just connect here. So it will, this branch will run this code. Okay, if you can understand. So the next thing, what we want to do is if we can sprint, so from the true, we want to get the sprinting, we want to release and set sprinting. Okay, and we want to set it to true. So if we can sprint, then we are sprinting. Then what we want to do, we have to get our character movement reference, and we want to get from this, and we want to set max walk speed. I know that we are sprinting, but this game always is thinking this as walk speed. Or we can create some custom things, but this way it will always be easier. So, max walk speed. So our normal, if we click from here, our max walk speed is 600. And actually, I want to set it to 500 as default. So this is our jogging speed, or like speed when we are not sprinting. So 500 centimeters per second. Now, when we are sprinting, I want to set it to 800. Yes. Okay. So if we can sprint, we set sprint to true, and we set the max walk speed to higher. Now from the released, what we want to do, we want to get a branch, so be a left click from the released like this, and we want to check if we already are sprinting. Because if we are not sprinting and we release this, we don't want to do anything. So from false, nothing. Okay, and from the true, we want to first set the sprinting to false, like this. Then we want to get the character movement, and we want to set max walk speed from here. And now we want to set it to 500, which is our default value here. You can obviously use different values, but if you want to follow this tutorial as easily as possible, then you want to use the same. Now let's move this to the center like this, so it looks better. I always like my code to look clean. Now, one more thing that we want to do here, this is already working, but one more thing that we want to do is we want to right click from here, and we want to add a custom event. Let's call this stop sprinting. And let's move it, it can actually be here. Now let's connect this to here. And why do we do this? We want to be able to call this stop sprinting code from our other parts of the code. And if we have it only from here, we can do that because we cannot call this from here. So we have to call this custom event that we can call from anywhere that will do basically the same thing as this released. You know, simple as that. So let's compile. Let's save all. Now we can go to the first person map. We can play. We can see. Now we are moving. We have no animations yet, but yeah. Now when we press the shift, we speed up. When we release, we are going slower. Okay, the sprinting is already working. So now let's actually add the animations. So how we can do that is let's go to the animations folder. Let's right click and let's create a animation blueprint. Let's select our ski mannequin arms skeleton. Let's create. Let's call this ABP animation blueprint underscore FPS underscore character or whatever. Or you can just ABP player. Let's not open it yet. So now let's right click and let's go to the animation. And here we have this. Where do we actually have it? So here, under the legacy, we have plain space 1D. Let's create a blueprint on that. Now let's search for a ski mannequin arm skeleton. This will be called move underscore BS. And the BS doesn't stand for, you know what? It stands for plain space. Okay. Now let's open this plain space. And here, why do this always keep opening like this? Let's move this next to here. So what we want to do here is we want to open this horizontal axis, and we want to name this speed. So now this axis from here will be called speed, as you can see from here. Now the minimum value will be 0 because our minimum speed will be 0 and our max speed will be the 800, which is the sprinting speed. So let's set the max speed, max value to 800. Now you can see 800 updates to here. Now let's right click, actually not right click, sorry. Let's get our air one move, not the idle one, the move one. Let's move it to here. Now you can see we have this animation here on the 0 mark, and let's actually make it where here. Plain spaces, let's open it and let's make it speed 0 because I think, okay, it was already on 0, so sorry about that. Now the rate scale, let's make it 0.01, so it plays super slowly. And why do we want it to play super slowly is we want to get this again here to around the middle, and we want to change this speed to 500, which is our normal max, basically jogging, walking something speed. No, not that one, this one. So without sprinting, the max walk speed. Now this is at 500, and now this rate scale is 1, or I think actually we should set it to, yeah, sorry, we want to set it to 1.5 actually. So now, you cannot see anything working here, but when you move your mouse to here and keep control, you can see this green cross comes here, and now you can review this animation. So here, I'll actually turn this a little bit and scale this a little bit. So now you can see it's not doing anything, but when we move this closer to this value, you can see the animation will start playing a lot faster. So it will be smoothly changing between the animation play rate, between the 0.01 and 1.5. So from when we start moving, it's like this. When you're at 500, it's like this. Now we want to add the sprinting to the 800 maximum value. So let's get the AR1 sprint and let's move it to the end. Now here we have this AR1 sprint. We want to change this rate scale to 2. Now you can try with the control this. When you go here, it will speed up, and after this it will start slowly blending to the other animation. I have made this animation so that they blend like super fluidly. They don't have any like stuttering between. They are like perfect with each other. So when you're sprinting, the animation is like this. Okay? And so now we can just save all. We can close this move BS. Now let's go back to the first person map. Let's open the APP FPS character. Let's move this next here. And now what we want to do next is, sorry, computer's lagging. So let's go to the event graph. So here on the event graph we have event blueprint update animation. We don't actually want to use that yet. Let's delete both of these. So let's right click and let's search for a event begin play. And now we want to right click under it and we want to try get pawn owner. So we're getting the owner of this animation blueprint. Now we want to get from the return value and we want to check is valid with the question mark like this. And if it is valid, what we want to do, we want to get from this again and we want to cast to first person character. Let's connect it to here. It's valid. Let's double click on this. When you double click, you can add this reroute, which basically makes this link look a lot cooler and cleaner, you know. Now I like to always align these with these nodes or pins or these pins or maybe these, you know, the one that's closest to it. Now you can select both of these because you can see like, I will actually show you like this. If I move this to here, you can see this is not straight. So you can select both of these and press Q on your keyboard. They will be aligned perfectly. Okay, and also you can do the same here. You can see this was not like aligned 100% correctly. Now, after we have casted to here, and first we are checking if it is valid. If it is, we will cast to it, and when we can cast to it, we want to get from it, and we want to promote it to a variable. And we want to click on this variable, and we want to click F2, so to rename it, and we want to call this player underscore ref. Now, yeah, what we want to do, we want to go lower here, or down or lower, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, sorry, English is not my first language, but yeah, I think you understand. Here, you want to right click and update animation, event blueprint update animation. I never remember this like word by word, but yeah, it doesn't matter. It always finds that. So the next thing, we want to get from here the player ref, and we want to get from it and check if it's valid. So it doesn't play this before we have the promoted this variable here. Okay, because otherwise it will give you some errors. So select this and press Q. Now from the isValid, actually let's move this a little bit closer. So from the isValid, we want to move and get a sequence. And actually we can keep S pressed on our keyboard and left click, so it will take this sequence. This is just basically to make your code look cleaner. Basically you don't need this ever, but this will make your code look cleaner. So you want to get from the 10 0, and oh sorry, what we want to do first is we want to get the player ref, and we want to get from it get movement component, this one. Target is pawn, and from here we want to get if we are falling. So is falling, this is a movement component variable that we have as default. Now we want to promote this to a variable so we can see it here on the animation blueprint. So let's get from the return value and let's promote to a variable. Now let's get from the 10 0. Let's actually select all of these and press Q to align. Now this variable is here, new var, type boolean, it should be boolean. Let's click, you can double click or press F2. And now let's call this falling. Some people like to call this is falling, or like add the is or are tai, do tai, or something like that. Sorry, I was speaking Finnish in between, sorry. I mean is falling, or they want to call it is or are or can or something like that. I just like to call them usually with the falling or running or something like that. But it doesn't matter, it's however you want to do it. But yeah, sometimes when I have many that have almost the same thing, then I add something. Can fall after, or can fall during something, or you know. Okay, this was, you didn't need to know all this, but yeah, sorry about that. So the next thing we want to get from the player ref again, and we want to get the get velocity here. Target is actor. And from here we want to get a vector length, because the velocity is normally a vector, and vector is always x, y, and z. And we want to get the length of all these. So the vector length, actually we don't want to get the length, we want to get the vector length xy, so it only gets the length of the xy, so x and y added, or however the code goes. So we're getting basically the ground speed, and that's what we want to call this. We want to promote this to a variable. Let's get from the 10.1. Now you can see these are crossing each other pretty ugly. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, let's add a reroute here by double clicking, and let's move these to here, I think. And let's move this a little bit lower. So now I think everything's looking pretty nice. So this variable here, let's call it ground speed. So the speed on the x and y. Now we can compile, we can save all, And we can click here on the anim graph. If you can see it there, you will have it here. You can double click on it. Now here, this is the animation pose that will be playing, what you connect to here. Now you will have to add all the rules and stuff like that here in between. So how we can do that is simple as, I think you should always add a, we don't need this on this project, but if you want to add something to this and you wonder why something is not working, so you want to do this, so let's get from this and default slot. This is a slot that you have to add so you can play montage animations. Okay? And now let's get from this and let's get a state machine. Okay, this is our, here will be our states that there are character, what animation to play, or like not to our character, but you know, to the blueprint. So let's click on this and press F2. Let's change this to Locomotion. Okay. Let's double click on that. Now you open the Locomotion to here. And yeah, from the entry, this is basically when we go here. So it will go start from here. Let's drag from this and let's search for a, we don't actually have the search. Let's add a state. This state, let's call it idle. Let's add, align it better. Let's double click on it. Here in the idle, what we want to do is simple as we want to get our AR1 idle and connect it to here. Now we want to click on this and make sure that loop animation is true. Otherwise, it will only play the idle one time, and we want it always to play. Now let's go back to the Locomotion. Now we have our idle state, which will be always playing because we don't have anything else here. Now, let's get from this, add another state. This will be called moving. Okay. Let's move it here. Yeah. Now this is the rule when we want to go from the idle to the moving. Okay. Let's double click on this. So here, what we want to do, we want to get our ground speed, and we want to get from it, and we want to check if it's greater than, we can just check if it's greater than 0. So if we are basically moving, if our ground speed is greater than 0, then we can enter transition. Now we want to select all of this and press Q to align, go back to the Locomotion. So now when the PP first person character starts to move, then we will move from this state to here. Now let's click on this. So here, what we want to do here now is we want to get the move BS. This is the plane space, and now we have this speed, which was the horizontal axis, which goes from 0 to 800 on the plane space. Now we want to get our ground speed. It tells you what speed to play this animation. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Now let's click on the move plane space, and on the play rate here, where we have this bind, this value, let's click on that and expose as pin. Now we got this another play rate pin here. Now we want to stop this animation completely when we are jumping. Otherwise, we are running in the air. I can actually show you how it looks before. So now we can actually just compile, save all, and go to the PP first person character, to the viewport, click on our hand smash, here. Animation mode, use animation blueprint, animation class, APP FPS character. Now you can see, compile, let's again save all, let's go to the first person map, let's play. Now when we move, you can see the animation is playing, and when you sprint, you can see the sprinting animation is playing, but we have some little glitches, we will fix it quickly soon. But now when we jump, you can see he's still running in the air. So let's fix all these animation issues now. How we can do that? We want to go back to the APP FPS character. Here, let's first fix that jumping running thing. So let's get from the play rate, and we want to get a select float like this. This will select by between two values by boolean. So now we want to just check if we are falling. So if we are falling, we want to, if we are falling, pick A. So A is when we are falling. We want to set this to 0. So when we are in the air, we don't want to play the animation. We want to stop it. When we are not falling, so we are on the ground, we want to set it to 1. This will be our normal play rate on the animation. And this doesn't, you might think that this makes the running animation not work correctly, but no, this tells how fast or where, at what part to play, blend to those animations. So how the running animation and stuff like that look. This just is the basic play rate of it. Okay, now when we compile, save all, and we start play, we still have this glitch, but when we jump, the animation will stop for a while. And this is simple, but it works. Okay, this is not the most cleanest look, but you can see he's basically jumping. When he stops and when he lands, he starts to run again. Okay, now let's make the transitions between the animations a lot cleaner. So let's go to the Locomotion. And here, let's click on this. And, oh, sorry. This is not done here. So let's click on the Move BS from here. Double click, it will open this. So here, we have on the horizontal axis, we have a smoothing time. Let's put this to 0.3. I think that's pretty good value for normal plane space smoothing. Now when we save, we close. One more thing that we have to do actually here is, actually forgot it, we want to get back from the moving, or otherwise we are always on the moving and our walking animation is always playing at the 0.01 speed. We're not going back to the idle. So let's back from here, from the white part, from the border basically. Connect this border, if you can connect here to the border always. Now you have this ruling here. Let's double click on that. Let's get again our ground speed. And let's check when it's less. Let's connect here. Let's actually align these. So when our speed is less than 0.1, we want to go back to the idle. Simple as that. So now, compile, save all. Let's go to the map. And when this starts working, now, oh, what happened? So now, let's play. Now you can see when we run, animations are working smoothly. You can see, and we are going back to the idle. Idle is this, and the moving animation is this. So it is working pretty nicely. We already have a pretty nice FPS Locomotion working here. Super simple, but still working super nicely. Okay? So next, what we want to do. We can actually close the app FPS character. And we want to go to the PP first person character and to the event graph. So now we want to add the code for firing or like shooting. So let's find some empty space under the sprinting code. And let's right click and let's search for a fire action events fire. Now we want to go to the macros and we want to click add a macro and we want to call this fire macro. Here on the fire macro, what we want to do is let's actually click on the input. Let's move this output away from here. Let's click on the input and let's add a input. And let's change this variable type to execute pin. Okay, this can just be called, let's call it execute or like exec or whatever, start or it doesn't matter. Now, first thing when we start to fire, we actually want to stop the sprinting. And that's the reason why we created this stop sprinting custom event. So let's get from it and stop sprinting. So first we are stopping sprinting. We don't want to sprint and shoot. After that, we want to get a gate, which is, as it says, it is a gate that you can close, you can open, you can toggle between close and open and stuff like that. Okay, so first time we want to make this start closed false. We want to start as open. So we are stopping sprinting and opening the gate, or entering the gate, sorry. And now here, what we want to do, we want to create another function. Let's call this automatic fire or auto fire or whatever. Let's go back to the fire macro, and we want to call this automatic fire on the exit. Then we want to add a sequence, so S and left click. And from the 10-0, we want to actually close the gate after we have done this one time. Now let's add reroutes by double clicking. And let's move this, for example, to here. Also this to here. Now it looks pretty nice. And from the 10-1, so after we have closed the gate, what we want to do is we want to actually add a new variable. This will be called fire rate, or like, this is actually not like fire rate, this is basically like fire rate delay, but let's call it fire rate for now. Let's change the variable type by clicking this and change it to float. Float is a number that has decimals, so you can put like 0.005 or whatever. If you go to the integer, it is always a full number without decimals. So, okay. Now you want to right click from here and get a delay. Connect from the 10, oh, not like that. So control and set to go back, like that. And from 10-1 to here, normal delay duration is always as default 0.2 seconds, but we want to get our fire rate, make that our duration. Now let's click on the fire rate, and let's make the fire rate as actually compile first, so we can set it. Always when you create a new variable, you will have to compile before you can set the default value. The default value, let's make it 0.1. So it will shoot between 0.1, it will have delay of 0.1 seconds between shooting. Now, after 0.1 seconds, we want to get from this, and we want to connect to the open. Now let's click on here to add reroutes. Also to here. So now, we're stopping sprinting, we're going to the gate, we're calling the automatic fire function that we have not created yet. Then we will close the gate, then we will delay this fire rate thing, and after that we will open the gate again. Okay? So now, let's compile, let's save. And now, let's go to the automatic fire. And here, we want to actually create a new function again. This will be called fire trace. This will be the actual trace that you shoot and that checks if you hit and does all the other things. Okay, now let's go back to the automatic fire. Now you want to call the fire trace first, like this. After the fire trace, what you want to do, you want to right click, set timer by function name. So this will basically take a function that you will have to set the name, and it will play it, if you set it looping, between every time you set this value. So function name will be called fire trace. Okay. And time will be our fire rate. And looping will be true. Now, from here, return value, we want to promote this to a variable. This will be called auto fire timer or whatever. It doesn't matter. So, okay. So we will shoot the fire trace and we will set the timer to play between 0.1 seconds, and we will promote this so we can adjust these things later, like that. And we will call this before, this will basically do the same than this, but this will always wait this delay before doing it the first time. So we are doing it the first time, and every other time after that we'll be doing between this. Okay? So let's compile and let's all. Now let's go to the fire trace. So here on the fire trace, what we want to do. First, we want to add a branch. So B and left click. Now we want to create a new function that will be called can shoot. Okay, let's actually move it under the can sprint here, so they are closer. I think that looks better. It doesn't actually matter anything. Here on the can shoot, let's click on this input, and let's add a output. It will be type boolean, and it will be called can shoot. Okay, and what we want to check here is simple as we will have to actually create a new variable. Again, this will be called ammo amount. Written like that. Yes, amount. Variable type will be integer because we don't want to split our ammos to decimals. You cannot shoot 0.3 ammo. You want to always shoot 1, 2, something like that. Now we want to get the ammo amount, and now you might be wondering how you can connect this to here. So it's as simple as you want to check if this is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, it makes the integer turn to boolean because it greater yes, less false. Okay, let's connect to here. So if we have ammo, we can shoot. Compile, let's save, and let's close this can shoot. We don't need to open this anymore. So now we want to get the can shoot to here. And you want to click on that and make it pure like that. Connect to here. So if we can shoot, then we, of course, can shoot. Simple as that. After that, we also want to, from the true, we want to stop sprinting again. I'm not sure if we have to do it here. We did it here also, but oh, actually, we have to do it like this. Yeah, sorry. Stop sprinting. And after that, what you want to do, you want to leave some space here, and you want to right-click and search for a line trace by channel. Okay, this will basically fire a trace from the start to the end. Let's connect it here, and let's actually move it even further, like this. And to the start, what we want to do, we want to get our first-person camera reference. From here, we want to get this world location, so get world location. And now from here, let's connect it to the start. We're starting the trace from our camera's world location. Now let's select this and press Q, and let's move them a little bit lower, like this. And let's add a reroute to here, like this, something like that. It's not aligned correct, but it's okay. Now we want to add something to this. So plus add. And we want to connect this to the end. So we are getting the same thing, but added something, and that's the end. And what we want to add to that is we want to get from the first person camera, and we want to get forward vector. So this is basically the vector that I will show you on the viewport. So here is our camera. Our forward vector is always facing from here, where the arrow is basically facing. Not the same thing, but in this case it is. They are both facing the same thing way, always. So now we have our forward vector, but now we have to get some units in front of us. So not normally this is just in front of us, but basically at the same location. So we have to multiply this forward vector so we get a distance in front of us, basically. So let's multiply. Now let's connect this to here. Now what we want to multiply it with, we have these three values. We want to actually right-click on this pin, and we want to convert to float single precision. Okay, let's move this a little bit further. Now let's make this like, this is basically our fire range, how far we can fire. So let's make it 100 is 1 meter basically, so let's make it 10,000 so we can shoot 100 meters. I know that's unrealistic, you can really shoot a lot further, but it doesn't matter, it will work for us now. Let's select this and press Q, let's select this and press Q, and let's make this, move this a little bit further up actually. Now we have this trace channel here, visibility is okay. This is basically checking which channel we use to check for a hit. Now draw debug type, we can set it persistent like this, so we can see what we're doing. So let's compile, let's save, let's go to the event graph. Here are the input action fire. What we want to do on here is we want to get our fire macro, call it on the pressed. On the released, we want to get our auto fire timer, and we want to get from it, and we want to clear and invalidate timer by handle. So we are stopping firing basically, because we created it to work with this timer. So now when we compile, we save, we go to play. Oh, I don't know why this moved again. Now when we press left mouse button, nothing is yet happening. Oh, I know why. Let's go back. Let's set our ammo amount to be like 30 as default. Okay, we have 30 ammos when we start the game. Let's compile, save all. Let's go back. Let's play. So now when we press left button, you can see we are spawning these things. But when we run out of ammo, okay, we cannot run out of ammo. We didn't add the code yet. But you can see we are spawning traces from our weapon. Okay, or basically from our camera, but it doesn't matter. It just makes sure that even if you're this close, it will shoot to the middle of the screen. If you go from the gun, it will shoot a little bit lower when you're closer. It's more realistic that way, but most games use the trace from the camera. Okay, you can see it is shooting by every 0.1 seconds like it's supposed to. So the auto fire is already working. So now let's add all the nice effects and functionality and recoil and stuff like that. So on the BB first person character, on the fire trace, now what we want to do, we can actually now set this trace draw debug type to none, because we don't have to see that anymore. Actually, we don't want to see that anymore. Now this out hit, let's promote that to a variable. It can just be called out hit. Okay. After that, we have to go to the event graph for a while. Here, let's find some empty space. I would like to find them from here, from the right of these other things, so we don't go too low here, so we don't have to like scroll super much, to add them all here like nicely. Okay, so sorry, let's create a custom event. This custom event, let's click on it and press F2, and let's call it add recoil. We don't have to do anything yet here, so let's go to the fire trace. Here we just want to call that add recoil. Add recoil. So after we have shot, or how do you say it? After we have shot, or after we have shot, after we have shot, I think. Okay. So we want to add the recoil, of course. And after that, we want to get our ammo amount. And we want to get from that, and we want to minus, so decrement integer. It will always delete 1 from that, So if we have 30, we have 29 after, and so on. After that, what we want to do, let's get from this, and we want to spawn emitter attached. We will spawn the fire tray. How do you call it? Fire tracer, muzzle flash tracer thing. So emitter template, you should have the assault rifle muzzle flash, because you downloaded or you imported the military weapon dark pack, as I told you in the start, or like as I showed you. So you want to connect that. Now we already should have, I will show you quickly. Let's compile, let's save all. Let's go to the first person map, and let's go to the military weapon and to the FX. Sorry. Let's go to the FPS weapon bundle, weapons, measures, and KA74U. And here on the X1, this one, when we open this, okay, sorry, we have to go to the skeleton. So X skeleton, you can see we have this muzzle socket already here at the end of the weapon. If you don't have this, if you are using different weapon, you want to just go to, you can go to the root, and you want to add a socket, and you want to move it to the end of the weapon, and you want to call it muzzle with capital M. Or you can call it whatever, but then you have to follow this thing that I'm doing here, and you want to change this attach point according to that. So for us, it will be muzzle like that. Location, rotation, and scale can be all default. Now let's move this a little bit further. Let's get our weapon. Let's move it here. Let's connect this to the attached component. We're attaching its component to the muzzle point. And we don't actually have to do anything else in this. Now we want to get from this, and we want to get world location here. And let's add a reroute, of course. Why not? Let's select this and press Q. Now with this world location, we want to right click from here, and we want to play sound at location. Okay. And we are playing this shooting, firing weapon sound on our weapon's location. Okay, because it's realistic. And if you want to make this even better, you want to get the muzzle socket location and play it from there, but it doesn't matter. You never cannot tell where it's coming from. So the sound will be rifle B, not these fire things, but the fire Q. So it will, the fire Q is made from this. It will randomly play any of these 6 fire sound waves. So fire Q. So now let's actually try. So let's compile. Let's save all. Now when we go to level and play, when we shoot, you can see everything is looking pretty nice. Okay. So now we can close these folders under here, and we want to go to the blueprints. And here on the blueprints, let's create another. Oh, what happened? I saw my mouse 2 times. Okay. Let's right click and create a new folder called interactables. Okay, it's correctly interactables. Let's right click on that. I want to make that also same color as the blueprints, or you can set it to whatever you want. Now when we open this, and here we can add all our blueprints that we can interact with. This basically is just a folder, so this doesn't make the code work any differently, but I just want to like sort everything like this. Now let's right click, and we want to create a blueprint class. Type will be actor, because we don't want to possess it, and nor we want to move it with the character movement component. So let's just actor. It's the most simple one. This will be called target, and you can call it target actor if you want. Some people like to do it like that, but target is good enough for me. Let's open it. Let's move this next here. Now here to the target, we want to add a static mesh, and we have it here. Static mesh. Let's call this mesh target. Now let's select our target mesh that we imported at the start. Now you can see it's super big. So what we want to do, when we have this lock unlocked, we can change this individually, these values on the scale. When we click on this, now this all changes when we change one of these. So let's put this 0.3, and I actually think that's already pretty nice looking. Okay. And here, what we want to do is, let's actually do the code for the PP first person character first. So let's compile, let's save all, and let's go back to the PP first person character. After we play the sound, what we want to do, we want to check if we hit the target. So we want to get our out hit variable that we promoted, which is basically just this out hit here. But now we can access it, so we don't have to like track from here, you know. Now let's right click on this and split it. It will split all these pins, so we can see all of these. Now from here, we want to get the out hit actor. And we want to cast to target. Get from here. Normally, if you have like large project, you never want to just, at least I don't want to cast to a single class. I would create a blueprint interface and add it to all the classes and actors what I want to access. So, but this for this game, this will work just fine. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to add a branch here. So be a left click from this top pin. So cast is successful, something like that. Now we want to check one thing before that. Here on the target, let's add a variable and let's call it down. So when we have shot this, we will set this to true. Okay, now let's go back. Let's actually compile, and we have to actually compile this also. Okay, sorry. PP first person character. Now we want to get from the as target, and we want to get down. We want to get not boolean. So if our target is not down, then we can just execute from the true. I think this is, we can just connect it down to here, but then if it is down, and we want to check if it's not down, then we have to just switch these basically. But this is cleaner. So if it's not down, then we can connect from here, continue from here, sorry. And yeah, I actually think we still have to, or we have to go to the target and create all the functionality right now. So let's do it like that. So let's compile. Let's save all. Let's go to the target. And I think this is the right way of doing it for now. So let's go to the event graph. Let's delete everything else than the begin play. And here in the begin play, we want to actually add few variables. First one will be called move. So if we want to move this, make this like moving target. Okay, now you want to get the move on the begin play, and you want to add a branch. If you don't want to move, we don't have to do anything on the false, but if you want, then we want to go down here and create a custom event. It will be called movement or move or whatever, it doesn't matter. Now you want to just call that event, so movement. Okay, let's select these and align with Q. So here the move, what we want to do, we want to create a few more variables. The first one will be called, actually the first one will be called start location, and the variable type will be vector. Now, I actually remembered one thing. Let's go back to the move. We want to make this instance editable and expose on spawn. So we can now edit it on the level. I will show you what this does. Let's actually, yeah, let's leave it like that. Let's compile, save. Let's go to level. When we move the target to the level now, and we press E so we can rotate it. So now you can see here we have this default move here that we can set it true or to false. Okay. Now when we go to the start location and make this also instance editable and expose on spawn. Actually, you can just make it instance editable, but I like to make it both of these always. So now when we compile, go here, you click on this. You can see now we have the start location here. So we can set these variables on the level. Otherwise you cannot, it will always use the same variables. This way you can make it more like modular. Sorry, I cannot pronounce these certain words in English, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, start location, you can set it now. Now let's go back to here. Let's duplicate the start location. And let's call it end location. Also, now when you duplicated it, it should be already instance editable and expose on spawn. And you should be able to see it here after you compile this. Now one more. We want to create another variable which will be called moving time in seconds or something like that. This will be type float. And also instance editable and expose on spawn. Let's compile, let's save. Now let's create the code for the movement. So what we want to do first is we want to leave some space in between and right click and create a timeline. Okay. And let's rename this timeline to move underscore TL. And let's double click on that. And here what we want to do, we want to change this length to 1 second. You might want to make it use different length, but here you want to set it to this because we will adjust it by this variable. I will show you. After that, let's add a flow track. Here in the start, let's right click, set this time to 0 and value to 0. It will be here on the start. Now let's to the middle, let's add another key. Let's make it time 0.5 and value 1, like this. And here at the end, let's add another one. Let's make it time 1 and value will be 0. So it is this pyramid basically. Now I want to right click on this, auto, right click on this, auto, and right click on this. It will smooth this timeline out. So it will go like smoothly up, smoothly down, smoothly up, smoothly down, you know? So let's compile, let's save, we can close this timeline. And so here now, before this move timeline, what we want to do. Now when we created this, you can see here on the components that we have this move timeline reference. You want to get that. You want to get from it and you want to set play rate. Connect to here. And why do you want to set the play rate? Is we set the time to be 1 second. So now let's get the moving time in seconds. Let's not connect it to here, because otherwise, if we set 1 second timeline, if we set this to 1, it will play it in 1 second. If we set it to 2, it will not make it 2 seconds. It will make it play 2 times the speed, so it will be 0.5 seconds. So how we want to do that is we want to right click and add a divide. Okay, and you want to connect this to the bottom one, like this. And you might be wondering, why do we do it like this? You want to actually divide 1 by that. So if you have 1 divided by, for example, let's set it to 2. If you divide 1 by 2, what it gives you? It gives you 0.5. Okay? And your play rate, what you want to get is 2 seconds. But now you have 0.5. But when this normal speed is length is 1, and you play it by the rate of 0.5, what does it make it? It makes it play in 2 seconds. And if you change this to 5, it will divide this by 5, so 0.2, play rate by 0.2, it will make this play in 5 seconds. So basically now you're getting this play rate, okay? You want to play from start, always play from start. And so now we want to actually make the target move. And how we can do that is by, first, let's add a branch. Let's connect it to the update. And let's check if we are not down. So, get down, not boolean. And let's actually move it further, and also this to here. So, we are not down, or the target is not down. And if it's not, then we want to get our default scene route. Actually, we can just get our target. Sorry about that. And we want to set... Oh, I'm stupid. We have to get the default scene route. Yeah. We want to set world location from the true. And what we want to set it to is we want to get from the new location, and we want to lerp vector. Lerp is a node that basically lerps between A and B by alpha. So when the alpha is 0, it will be here, and when the alpha is 1, it will be here. So let's get the new track 1. Let's add some reroutes again. And now you know that here that we created this, we are going to, in half a second, we are setting the value to 1, And here we're setting, at the 1 second, we are setting the weight into 0. So this basically is the alpha. You can also rename it to alpha if you want from here. How can I do that? Yeah, alpha, if it makes it more clear to you. So let's compile, let's save all, let's close this timeline. Now you can see it's alpha. We want to connect that alpha to here. And A, that will be the starting location. And B will be the end location. And now you're wondering, you might be wondering that the start location is 0 and end location is 0. How does that work? I will show you it very soon. Let's actually move this closer like that. So how does that work? First, we actually, from the finished, we want to call this same function again. So this basically plays in loop. So here, and let's call the movement. Call function movement like this. So how does this work? Let's compile, let's save all again. Let's go to the first person map. Now we have this here. Now what you want to do? First, let's think that this is our starting position. Okay? So let's copy this from here. You can see transform location. You can click from this and copy. And you can paste it to start location. Now you can see we have this location here, start location. Now you move this, for example, to here. Now you copy the location and paste it to end location. Now, if we set this moving time in seconds to 2, it will basically move it in 2 seconds, the whole thing. So 1 second to here and 1 second to here, you know? So in total 2 seconds. And also we have to click this move to true, otherwise it doesn't move. So now let's play. Let's see. You can see it is working. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's taking 1 second to go to the. Now if we uncheck this move, now it will stay as where it is. Okay. And now you can make this obviously. Yeah, we can just use this values, but if you make this like 5, it will take so much longer. I have to set it to move to true. It will take so much longer to move. You can see, you can adjust these values however you want. Isn't that nice? Now you made a modular modular target, which you can adjust on the level and make them work however you want. Okay. So, the next thing, we want to go back to the target, and under the movement, let's add another custom event. And this will be called hit. We will call this event when we hit this with our weapon. Now we want to first set it to down. Okay. Then what we want to do, we want to get our target, and we want to set collision enabled, and we want to set it to no collision. So this will disable the collision of this target mesh. So we cannot shoot it anymore, nor can we like get stuck to it with our player or something like that, you know. It doesn't affect our movement anymore. And now let's actually move this even further down. And also let's move this a little bit further, like this. Now they're all looking a lot better. They have more space in between. Now we want to create another timeline here. So let's search for a timeline. And you can also add this to favorite, because we will be, or at least I use these a lot when I'm coding. Okay. And now it will always connect it to the play at when you connect as default. But if you want to, you don't want to cut it with Alt, you want to move it, you can keep Control pressed, and you can just move it to, you know, wherever you want. But we want to move it to the play from start. Now this will be called fall TL, fall timeline. Let's open it, and the fall timeline. What we want to do here, we want to change this length to like 0.25 or something like that. Let's add a float track. Let's add a key to 0. and another key to time 0.25, and value is 1. Okay, because the 1 on the lerp is always at the second point, basically. So like, here, A is 0, B is always 1. So if you set it to like 5, it doesn't matter. On the 1, it's already here. So this works with 0 and 1. So if you use lerp with the timeline, then you want to map it the way you work with the 0 and 1 between those values, Sorry, I'm not good at explaining all things. And also I'm a little bit tired and sick and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, let's continue. Now what we want to do, we want to get our target and we want to set relative rotation this time, and relative, not world. And why is that? Because if we go to the viewport and we click on this and we click E so we can rotate, you can see we want to rotate this to be here, so minus 90 degrees on the x-axis. Okay, we want to do that when we shoot it. So let's get from the new rotation and let's lerp rotator this time. And the A value will be our default value, so 0, 0, 0. And B will be minus 90, 0, 0. Okay, and now let's get the new track to the alpha. This is also the alpha, like here, but I just didn't rename it. I usually don't do it, but you can do it and make your code look better. But yeah, it doesn't matter. So I think that's all here. Let's compile. Let's save. Now let's go to the PP first person character. Here after on the fire trace, after gets to the target and all this stuff, and if it's not down, then what we want to do, we want to get, let's actually move these a little bit further down so we can get from here. Now we want to call the hit function, which is actually event, but this for some reason says it's a function, but it doesn't matter. So, okay, I think this is unnecessary, but yeah. So now we're calling this hit from here. Now one more thing that we want to do, we want to get this out hit impact point. Actually, we don't want to get it yet. We want to first get the play sound at location. Like this. Now let's get the out hit impact point. This is the point where our trace hits. Let's connect it to here. Let's add a reroute here. Something like that. Actually, I want to align these two with Q. Now, the sound that we want to play is rifle impact surface something. Surface Q. This one. Okay. I think that's good. So let's compile. Let's save all. Let's go to the first person map and let's play. So now, when we shoot this, it will go down, and also it will stop, and we will play this sound. Did you see? It is working super nicely. But one thing that I noticed here is, let's go to the target, and let's go to the viewport. Let's actually click on this, and let's move this set location to like, let's try maybe 2. Let's go to level and try again. So now you can see it when it's on the ground, and actually it still is, the face is under the map. So how we can fix that is by going to the target, the mgraph, and here on the fall timeline, we don't set this to minus 90. Let's set it to minus 89, so it doesn't like rotate the full 90 degrees, So let's compile, save, and let's try. Now it should work pretty nicely. You can see it's looking super nice, and we cannot, it doesn't affect our movement, nor we cannot shoot it again. Okay, now we want to start creating the HUD and the point system, all that nice stuff. So let's first go to our PP first person game mode. Let's open it. Let's open full blueprint editor. Let's move it next to here. Now here, we want to actually create a custom event. Let's go a little bit more down here. Let's right click and create a custom event. This custom event will be called add point. And what we want to do now is we want to create a new variable called points. And this will be type integer because the points will be full numbers always. Now we want to get the points, and we want to plus, so increment integer, so we are adding 1 to it. This is basically the same thing as if we're doing like this, add 1, and then like, setting this again to this without this, like this. But this is the more simple way if you want to add just one unit. After that, we want to check if this value after that is equal to, and now we want to promote this to a variable. And promoting this to a variable doesn't basically mean anything. You can just create the variable and connect it to here, but the quicker way is just to promote it. Okay, and this will be called total points. This will be the amount of the targets in the level, Now let's add a branch, so B and left click, like this, connect this to the condition. And yeah, we don't have to do anything else here for now. So now what we actually want to do is first let's compile and save. Okay, so next thing. Oh, we want to still call this from the target. Okay, let's go there quickly. On the hit, not on the hit. It was not here, it was on the PP first person character. Here after the play sound on the fire trace, we want to get the game mode reference that we created on the start here on the event graph here. And then we want to get from that and we want to add point. We are calling that function. Compile and save. Now we can actually close this target. We don't need it anymore here. That's all done there, at least for now. So now let's go to the first person map. Let's create a new folder called HUD. Now let's change this color to, I usually like to make it some shade of white, like this maybe. Let's open it. And let's right click and create a user interface widget blueprint. User widget, sorry. This will be called main menu. Actually, I don't know why I added this underscore here. So main menu, something like that. Let's open it. And here on the widget, this is the kind of how do you call it? I don't know, but this is basically what you see after you add the. You have to add the canvas panel. So now you get these borders here, and now you can see this is basically your screen. Now when you add stuff to here, you will see it as it's set here. Like the layout is the same on when you are playing, Okay, you will always have to add the canvas panel if you want to show it straight in your viewport on your screen, So here on the main menu, so we want to get a text. Let's move it to here. Now we want to change the anchor point to the top middle point, so it will be anchored to here, and all these positions are like relative to this place, okay? And now what we want to do, we want to open the font, and we want to make this like, let's make it 60. Now let's go down, and here on the justification, let's align text center, like that. Now let's make our text slot a lot bigger. So size X, let's make it 400 maybe. And Y, I think it should be 100, something like that. Okay. You can also make it size to content. Now you want to set this position X to 0 and Y to 0. Okay. Now how you can align it to the, so it's always in the middle of this anchor point. You want to go to the alignment. You want to put 0.5 here. Now it will be in the middle on the X axis. And on the Y, you want to make it like 0.5 also. Actually, let's make it minus 0.5. Okay, and it's there. Now let's change this text to be best time. This will be the text that says best time on your main menu, you know. Now let's rename this to best time text, so it's easier to see. And now what we want to do is we want to duplicate this. Let's rename this to just best time. Okay, this would be the value basically. Now let's change this Y alignment to minus 1.5, so it will be here. Now if we, you don't have to do this, but if we have like time like 12.55, you can see it here like this. But we want to set this to like this line, because when we don't have any time, you know, when we haven't played before, we don't have the best time. It will be like this. So the next thing what we have to do here is let's create a button. So button, let's move it to here. Now also let's align it to the bottom middle part. Let's position X and Y to 0. And size, I think I want to set it to like 300 and like 80. And alignment 0.5 and 2 on the Y. So like this. Now to the style. Now we have normal, hover, press, disabled, and so on. Let's open the normal. Usually people show you to do all these like copy from here the tint and paste it to here, and also all other stuff, but I will show you a lot faster way. So on to normal, let's click on the tint. I want to make this like black. You can obviously make it look however you want. For me it will be like this. Now this will be rounded box, yeah. Outline, let's open it. And here on the outline, we want to set it to, these are for all, actually it can be like this. It looks already pretty good. Just the white outline. This is not tutorial for the UI HUD things, but yeah. So yeah, let's continue. Now we have this button here. How we can copy these styles is we can close this normal. We can copy this whole style from here. We can paste it here. You can see from here it changes. And now we can open the hovered. And we want to make this a little bit lighter, maybe something like that, I think. Actually, let's not make it like that. Let's change the alpha to like 0.75. It will make it a little bit transparent, basically. Now, let's click on that, copy it again. Now on the pressed, let's paste. Now let's change this to, you can make it however you want, but let's make it like 0.6, something like that. Doesn't matter. Okay, and you can also change the color a little bit if you want, but this is just for your, you can make it look however you want, because you know, normal is when it's normal. When you hover it, it will be this, and when you click it, it will be this one, and so on. So the next thing, we want to add a little text to this button. So let's search for a text again. Let's move it under the button. It will automatically go here. And you can see that it's under the button. If it's here at the same line as this, you want to move it to the button like this, you know. Now let's click on the button. Let's rename it to play button. And the text, let's rename it to play text. Like that. Now here on the text, we want to do one thing, because now the text is basically blocking the button. If we are clicking on the text, we cannot click this button. So you want to go down here where you have the visibility. We want to click on this and not hit testable self only. This will make this text visible, but it will, you can like click through it. It won't stop your click basically. This is, many people doesn't know this. And yeah. So. The next thing, let's scroll up and let's change this text to play. Now you can see you have this best time and the real time here and also the button. Okay. So now we want to compile, we want to save all, and we want to go back to the BB first person game mode. And here we want to go up a lot. We need one function here, one here, and this begin play here. So 2 in between. So let's go a little bit up. Now let's get the begin play event. And on the event begin play, what we want to do, we want to get this and we want to create widget. This widget will be the main menu that we just created. And now we want to promote this to a variable because we want to do some things later on. This variable, let's rename this to main menu ref. And also here under the category, let's write here ref. Now you can see we have this new category here, ref. Okay, and now how you can really see this on your screen, because now we just created it, but we cannot yet see it. You want to get this is basically the same as this, but now it's just, you saved the reference basically. Now from here you want to add to viewport, like this. After that, what we want to do is we want to right click and get player controller under the game here. Here we want to get from this and we want to set input mode UI only. We don't want to be able to control the player basically. So let's get from here. Now we want to get the main menu ref. We want to focus on that widget like that. And yeah. Now we can actually compile and save all and go to the first person map and see what happens. You can see one more thing that we want to do here is, let's go to the blueprints and let's right click and create a new blueprint class and player controller. Let's call this FPS controller. Now on our game mode, when we go to the class settings, class defaults, here we can see these classes. We have this player controller, but we want to change it to FPS controller. Okay, compile, save. Now here on the FPS controller, let's open it. We want to show mouse cursor as default. Okay, we don't actually have to do anything else here for now. Compile, let's save, let's go to the map and let's play. So now on the level you can see the mouse, you cannot move or anything. You can click the button, but it doesn't do anything yet, but you can see the menu is here. So let's continue. So the next thing will be, we want to create a new folder again, and this will be called save game. We will add all the save game actors and blueprints and all kinds of stuff to here. Let's open it, let's right click and let's go to the blueprint class, all classes, and let's search for a save game like this. Let's select and let's call this FPS save game. Okay, let's open it. And there's only one thing that we want to do. We want to add a variable. This will be called best time, and it will be type float because we want to include the decimals. I don't know if they are decimals, called decimals in English. Let's see. Okay, they are. They are called that in my language, but I was not sure if they are called that in English. But yeah, so we have the best time here. And actually I think Yes. Okay, let's set this best time. Let's actually compile and set this best time to like, it doesn't matter, some value. Let's make it like 1000 maybe. It doesn't matter. Something big. Okay, let's compile, let's save, and we can close this. And we can close the FPS controller also. And now, here on the BB first person game mode, we want to create a new function. This will be called load slash create save game. Okay, let's click on that. Okay, I just created a new graph. I didn't want to do that, so I'm stupid. Under the functions, we want to do that. So load slash create save game. Okay, now here, what we want to do. We want to first check if save game exists. So does save game exist? Now we want to select a slot name. We can call it whatever we want, but we will have to rename it. Remember it. Sorry, remember it. So let's call it save game. That's simple, easy to remember. Now we want to add a branch and check if that exists. If it doesn't, what we want to do, so on the false, we want to create save game object. We want to select our FPS save game. Then we want to promote it to a variable. That variable will be called save game underscore ref, and we want to move it under the ref there. Then what we want to do is we want to get from it, and we want to save game to slot, and we want to save it to this slot. So save game. You want to check that everything is written exactly like at the other places. So save game. Okay, and now on the true, if we already have this, so if we have played before, then what we want to do is we want to get from this, and we want to load save game from slot. The slot name will be again the save game. From the return value, we want to cast to FPS save game. Okay. From there, we want to get our save game ref, and we want to set it. So we are setting it again here, this to the same variable. You don't want to promote it again, otherwise you will have two variables and it would not work correctly. You want to set it to the same variable basically. Okay, now we want to create another function. This will be called set best score. And now let's go back to the load create save game, and we want to call this set best score here. Okay, now let's open the set best score. Here, what we want to do is we want to get the save game ref. We want to get from it, and we want to get the best time. And now we want to check if the best time is less than the let's move this further down. So if the best time is less than the value that we set on there, I set it to be 1000. If it's less than that, so we have played before, then let's add a branch. Connect this to here. And if it is, then what we want to do is let's actually get the main menu ref under here. Let's get from this, let's get the best. Oh, we have to go to the main menu quickly here. On this best time, we will have to make this as variable. Is variable true, like that. Compile, save, and back to the first person game mode. Now from here, we want to get the best time reference, this blue one. Now we want to get from here, and we want to set text under the content. Let's move it all the way here. Let's add reroutes to here. Let's select all of these and align. Did it align it? No, it did not, because I didn't select all. Like that. And now we want to get this time and connect to the text. Now we will get this text to float thing here. And let's add a reroute also to here and move this to maybe here. Let's select all of these and press Q to align. Now we can open this and we want to make the maximum in integral digits 2. So it will have 2 decimals, and use grouping, I don't want to use that. Okay, like that. Compile, save, and back to the load, create, save game. Okay, we already added this, so we don't have to do anything else here nor here. So now what we want to do, here on the event graph, under begin play, we want to create a custom event. This will be called start game. Okay, and now let's go to the main menu on this. Let's scroll down, let's select our play button, and here under on clicked, let's create a click event. Here we want to get game mode, cast to game mode, cast to BP first person game mode. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired. And from here we want to call the start game function. And let's actually move this a little bit further. Oh, let's move this all a little bit further like this. And let's add a remove from parent. First, like this. We are adding a lot more code to here, but for now this will work. So let's compile. Let's save all. Let's go back to the BP first person game mode. Here on the BP first person game mode, what we want to do is we want to actually create another function. This will be called get amount of targets. Okay, this will basically calculate how many targets there are on the level, so you don't have to, you can like set more targets if you want. So this will also make the game basically modular something like that. Yeah, let's continue. So let's get all actors of class. This will get all the actors on the level, and we want to get our target. So if we have 5 targets, we will get all these 5. If we have 1, we will get only 1. Now from here, we want to get a for each loop. So this will basically run through every one of the actor. Now, every time we have one, so on the loop body, we want to get the total points. And we want to increment integer. Simple as that. So, if we have 3, it will go to the first one, it will add 1 there, go to the next one, add 1 there, and if you have 5, it will add total number, it will be 5 at the end, and so on. It will always work correctly. Now, on the event graph, we want to call that on to start. So, get amount of targets. Then we want to create a new variable, which will be called game running, and it will be type boolean, because only yes or no. It's a yes or no question, basically. So let's set it here, and let's set it to true. Okay. So what we want to do next is we want to go back to the main menu, and here we want to do few things, actually. Yeah. So let's move all this code a lot further here. And now what we want to do here at the start, when we click the play button, we want to right click and get the player controller like this. And now we want to get from this and we want to set input mode game only. we want to set the input back to the game from the UI. After that, we want to get from the player controller again, and we want to show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor. And we want to set it to false. And let's add a reroute, of course, here. And then we want to get from this again, and we want to disable input from here. And we don't want to disable input from, we don't want to connect the player controller to the target, we want to connect it to the player controller. So keep the control pressed and move it to here. And let's add another reroute, of course. And from the target, let's get player character like this. Okay, and let's actually move this even further and this closer to here, and like this. So now let's compile, let's save, let's go to the back to the game mode. Here after we set the game running, we want to get player controller, and we want to enable input like this. But again, we want to connect the player controller to the player controller, and from the target we want to get the player character. Okay. You might be wondering, why do we disable it here and call this start game function and enable it right after? That's because we are going to add here something else that we will add later on, but for now it will be like this. So now when we compile, we save all and go to the level and play. We should be able to, when we click this, yes, now we are controlling the actual player. But one thing that I noticed, we don't have any recoil on the weapon. I actually was supposed to do it earlier in this video, but I forgot about it totally. So let's do it now. So we want to go to the PP first person character and go to the event graph, and here we have already added this add recoil custom event. Here what we want to do is we want to actually right click and get player controller again like this. Then we want to set control rotation. Okay, and the rotation that we want to set, or like where we want to set it, will be, we actually want to split this, so we are getting all the X, Y, and Z. And then we want to get from the player controller, and we want to get control rotation, because we want to get the old values and add to them. So let's split this. Let's connect X to X. And now I will actually quickly show you. Let's go to the viewport. When we click on our hands mesh and we rotate it, we want to rotate on this axis, like this. Not this much, but on the minus, on the x-axis and minus values we want to add, or yeah. So okay, sorry, I'm stupid. We will have to do that on the recoil animation. Now we are adding the rotation to the controller, so to our, okay, sorry, that was a mistake, sorry about that. So what we want to do here, we want to actually add on the y-axis, because we want to move it upwards. So we're getting the y and we are adding to it. Let's add let's select this and align. Let's add a 1 unit every time, and on this set, so on this axis, what we want to add is, let's add to it, and let's get a random float in range. In this line, random float in range is basically the recoil to the right and left. So let's make it like minus 0.5 and positive 0.5. Okay, so it will go between minus 0.5 and positive 0.5 from left to right, and always 1 unit upwards. So now we should be able to see it works. So let's compile, let's save all, let's go to level and play. So play, and you can see. But now we have some little problems here, okay? And that is because I didn't connect this link, okay? Let's try again. So compile, save, and let's play. Now you can see we are going upwards and randomly from right to left, okay? So the next thing that we want to do is we want to actually add that recoil animation that I was talking about a few minutes ago. So let's add a new custom event. So, custom event. And let's call this recoil animation, like that. And here what we want to do is we want to get a timeline again. And we want to play from start, so control and move. Let's call this timeline recoil anim TL, something like that. And let's open it. And here what we want to do, we want to change this length to like 0.15. I think that's good. Let's add a new flow track. Let's click on both of these. Actually didn't do anything because we haven't added the keys. So let's add a key to 0 and 0 mark. Let's add another key. This key will go to the time will be 0.05 and value will be 1. Another key which will be time 0.15 and value 0. And now click this. Now you can see it. Let's make it auto on all these. And here actually you don't have to do it. So what this does, this goes from in 0.05 seconds, it goes to the 1 when the weapon like basically recoils, and then it goes 2 times slower back to the starting position basically. Okay, let's compile, save, we can close this. And now we have this recoil animation timeline. We want to get the hand smash here, and we want to set relative rotation from the update. And now we want to get from the hands, we want to get relative rotation also. And we want to split this pin. And we want to split this rotation also. And we want to connect the Y and set to the set. Now, like I showed you before, here we want to rotate this on the X-axis and to the minus values. So we want to actually get from the X and we want to lerp. And our default rotation on the X is 0. So we want to, I think we want to set it to A will be 0 and B will be, let's make it -2. You can adjust this however you want. And let's connect the alpha to the new track. Okay, now let's just call this event after the add recoil. So recoil animation. Now when we compile, we save, we go to the level and we play. Now you can see the weapon is recoiling nicely. Already this system is starting to look pretty nice. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do, we want to go to the HUD and we want to actually create a new user widget blueprint and user widget. And this will be called layer HUD. Okay. Let's open it. And first we have to add the canvas panel. So we can see it on our screen. And here to the canvas panel, what we want to do, we want to actually add a little crosshair so we can actually see the middle part of the, or basically where we are aiming. So let's search for an image. This will be super simple. Let's move it to here. And then let's anchor it to the middle. Let's reset the position X to 0, Y to 0. And let's make the size, I think 4 on the X and 4 on the Y, and 0.5 alignment and 0.5 alignment on the Y, so it will be exactly in the middle of the screen. Okay, that's already good. Now let's rename this image to cross hair, something like that. Now what we want to do is we want to get a text. Let's move it to the screen. And we want to anchor it to the top part to here. And we want to set the font size to like 60 maybe. We want to set the justification to the middle. And also we want to set the size X to like 120. And actually, at 120 is okay. Size Y, it can be like 100, something like that. Now let's set this text block to like, let's try some value, so like 30 maybe. Okay, you can see it's looking like that. Now we want to set the position X to 0, Y to 0, alignment X to the 0.5, so it's in the middle, and Y to 0.1. No, sorry, -1. Okay, -1, that's pretty good. Now let's rename this text to a points. Okay? Or you can call it targets or whatever. This will show you the way amount of targets that you have gotten, and the total amount of the targets. Okay. So the next thing, let's actually duplicate this. Right click and duplicate, and this one will be anchored to the bottom left part to here. And actually now we want to zero the positions again, of course. And the alignment will be -1 on the X and 1.5 on the Y. So it will be here. Okay, and let's rename this to be time. This will be the time that is running on the screen, and you can see how long your game has been running. Okay, now let's duplicate it once more. And let's anchor it to the bottom right part of the screen. Let's zero out the positions. And let's set the alignment to 2, like this. And minus 1.5 on the Y. Okay. And why did we set it to 2 is because 1 would be here. Okay. 2 will be here. Here it's -1 because 0 will be here because the anchor point is on the left corner. Okay. So this one will be called ammo. And now we want to go here to the text. We want to bind it. Actually, we can't bind it yet. Sorry, we have to go to the graph first. So let's go to the graph. Let's delete everything else than the event construct. Here on the event construct, what we want to do, we want to get player character. And we want to cast to first person character. Then we want to promote that to a variable. And that variable will be called player ref. Like that. Now let's compile. Let's save all just to be sure. Let's go back. Now, when we try to bind this, we can see the player ref, and we want to bind this to the ammo amount. Like that. So, I actually noticed that I told you to set this font size to 60, and I set it to 55. I don't know why. 60. Also 60, and here also to 60. Okay. And now, here on the points, we want to actually bind and create binding. And here on the create binding, let's move this return node a lot further. We want to get our Okay, actually we don't have that yet. So let's create a new variable. This will be called game mode ref. You might be wondering why I do it this way and why I don't cast and promote it to a variable, but I will show you. Well, now we want to change this variable type to the PP first person game mode object reference, this blue one. Now when we make it instance editable in expose and spawn, and we compile and we save, now when we create this widget, like I will show you now, here on the PP first person game mode, after all this, let's actually move this start game a little bit further on. Okay, so after we enable the input and we create the widget, like create widget. Now when we select the widget type with the player HUD, you can see we have this game mode ref pin here because we made this expose on spawn. And it has to be instance editable so you can actually enable this. Now we can just get from this and we want to get self. So we are basically adding the reference, like promoting the variable as reference when we create this widget. So this will be much easier way. Okay, so that we don't have to cast back to here. It doesn't make sense. So you create this from here and cast from here, from there to here. You cast back. It doesn't make sense. This is a lot better way. And now we want to promote also this player HUD to a variable, so we can access it later. And let's call this player HUD ref. And let's set it under the category of reference. And now from here we want to add to viewport, like this. Now we can compile, we can save all, and we can go back to the player HUD. And now here on the get points text, now we can get the game mode ref because we have the reference. Now from the game mode we want to get our get points. Also we want to get the total points, so get total points. And now we want to get from the return value and we want to format text. Okay? And here on the format text we can add inputs to here by adding these. I will actually zoom a little bit so you can see better. Actually I cannot do it more. Okay? It has to work. So you can add pins by adding these brackets. This one. And then you can call the pin whatever you want. So for example, points, this another bracket. Let's add a space and press enter. You can see we have the points input here. Also, now we have the points, we have the space. Let's add a slash, let's add a space, and let's add bracket, and let's call this total. Oh, like that. Now, if you understood what I did, you can see we have basically only thing here is we have the points input and total input, and we have only these will be written here, the space, and slash, and space. So when we connect this to here, and this to here, now we will have this value, space, slash, space, this value. Okay, so it will show it the points slash total points. Okay. So now when we compile, we save all and we go to play and we press play. You can see we have all this on our level or on our screen. And when we shoot, the ammo is decreasing and also the target points are working, but timer is not yet running. So let's fix that. And we can do that by going to the PP first person game mode and we can add a new variable called time. And we want to change that type to float. Now here on the event graph, we want to, let's move these add points a little bit further down so we can fit the event tick here. Okay, so event tick is a event that will basically tick by every frame, basically. Now let's create a new function called timer. Now let's go back to the event graph. Let's add the timer to the event tick. Now let's go back to the timer, and we want timer to run if the game is running. So let's add a branch, B and left click, and we want to check if the game is running. Okay, and if the game is running, we want to get the time. We want to add to the time. And what we want to add is we want to get world delta seconds. We're going to add the delta seconds to the time. Then we will promote it back to time. Or not promote, set. Okay, so by every frame we're adding the time of the frame. So if we have 60 frames per second, this will be a 0.16 something, you know. It will be 1/60th, one of the 16th part of the second, basically. So every second this will make a full number. No. So now let's compile. Let's save all. And let's go back to the player HUD and to the designer, and let's click on our time. And now we want to go to the text and we want to bind, create binding. Here what we want to do, let's move this further. We want to get the game ref. And from here we want to get the time, get time like this. Then we want to connect this to here. It will make the text float. Let's open it. And what we want to do here, we don't want to use grouping. At least I don't want to use. And maximum in the maximum fractional digits. Let's make it 2. So we're seeing 2 decimals. Like that. So yeah, let's compile. Let's save all. Now when we go to play, and we click play, the game will start running. But now we have this little problem. Let's fix that. Let's go back to the player HUD, back to the designer. Here we want to actually make this justification to the align text left, like that. Now when we compile, save and play, it will be working normally. As you can see, seconds are running. Okay, we are already pretty far on this tutorial, so let's continue. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to create all the functionality, so when we shoot all the targets, we will complete the game, basically. So let's go back to the player HUD. And here we want to do a little thing here on the designer. We want to add a animation. This animation will be called finish anim. This will play when we get all the targets, basically. So let's click on this. Let's select our canvas panel and let's add a track. Now it will show the canvas panel here. Okay. Now let's add a render opacity track and let's set it to 1 at the 0 mark, and at the 1 mark, 1 second mark, let's set it to 0 like this. So now our HUD will basically slowly fade away. Okay, so let's compile, let's save all. And now what we want to do is we want to go to the PP first person game mode. And here on the event graph, on the add point, after we check if the current points are equal to total points, what we want to do is we want to get our player HUD ref. Actually, I have a little mistake here, so it's player like this. Player HUD ref. Let's get that. Let's get from it and let's get the finish anim that we just created. Now let's also get from the player HUD and let's get a play animation node from the true. Let's actually move this a little bit further like this, and in animation we'll put this, and let's make these look a little bit better, something like that. Actually, not that much. Now we want to get from this finish animation, and we want to get end time. So let's basically get the length of the animation. So let's add a reroute to here. Also to here, and let's move this a bit like that. Now we want to delay the amount that the animation is playing. So let's get a delay node from this. So we are playing the animation, and after that we want to wait until the animation plays to the end. So we're getting the end time of it and delaying that time. And after that we want to set game paused and true. And from there, what we want to do, we want to get our player HUD, and we want to remove from parent. So we are removing the HUD, and after that we want to, now we have to actually create the finish or the game over widget. So let's compile, let's save all, let's go to the first person map, and we are already here on the HUD folder. So let's right click, go to the user widget, widget blueprint, let's create a new user widget. Let's call this finish. You can also call it game over or whatever. Let's open it. And let's move it next to the player HUD. Here what we want to do, we want to first get the canvas panel, of course. Okay, it's here actually. Now we want to get a text. Let's move this text to here. Let's call this time text, for example. And now let's anchor it to the middle. Let's set the position X to 0 and Y to 0. Size X like 300 and Y to 100. Alignment X 0.5 and Y, let's make it like 2. Now the size, font size, let's make it like 60. And let's change this text to be time and justification to the middle. So it looks like this basically. Now let's duplicate it. And let's call this current time or whatever. Okay. And here on the current time, what we want to do is we want to position X, set it to 0 and Y to 0. Now alignment Y, let's make it 1. So it's here. And yeah. Now let's change this text to like something like that. Okay. And we want to make this as variable. And actually also the time text. Both of these has to be variables. And the next thing, what we want to do, is let's actually go to our main menu. And here, let's select our button, play button. Let's right click on it and let's copy. Here at the finish window, let's paste it under the canvas panel. Okay, let's call this button now like restart button. Let's set the anchor point to the bottom middle part. It's actually already there. And position X to 0 and Y to 0. And it is actually already on the right spot. So it's pretty good. And now let's click on the play text and let's rename it to be restart. Simple as that. Now let's add a image here. Let's anchor it to the full screen. And let's zero out all these offsets. So offset left 0, offset right, top 0, offset right 0, and offset bottom 0. And here, what we want to do is we want to go to the brush, to the tint, we want to set it to black. And yeah, I think it can be something like that. Okay. Now let's set the jet order to be -1, so it's under everything else. If we set it to 0, it's on the same. If we set it to 1, it's over, and -1 is under. And let's rename this to be background. Okay. Now what we want to do next is we want to create this animation. So first animation, let's add one. Let's call this open anim. This will play when we finish the game basically. So now let's add here first a background track. Now let's add a track on it. It's called render opacity. And let's set 0 on the start. And now let's go to the 1 second mark. And let's set 1. Or actually, I don't know if we want to set it to 1. Let's set it actually to 0.75 so we can see a little bit through it. Now, the next thing what we want to add is we want to select our current time, and we want to add a current time track. Here also we want to add a render opacity. And actually, let's go to the 0 mark. Let's set the render opacity and current time to 0. Also on the 1 second mark, we want to set it to 0. So it's still not visible here. And at the 1.5 mark, I want to set it to 1. Yes, it's showing now. The next thing what we want to do is we want to select our restart button, and we want to add a track, and let's add a render opacity track again. And we don't actually need a key here on the 1.5 second mark, sorry about that. Let's delete that. Let's move this to the 0 mark, and let's set the restart button render opacity to 0. You can also click on this, it will add the key from the value that is already here. Now, let's go to 2 second mark. Let's add a key again. So it's 0 there. Now to the 2.5, let's change that to 1. So now you can see it will be like this. The render opacity button will come later. So the last thing that we have to do here is the time text. We're here. And let's add a track, time text track. Let's go to the 0 mark, and let's add a render opacity. And it will be 0 there. And at the 1 second mark, it will be 0 again. And 1.5, it will be 1. So now the animation is looking like this. If you watch this, you can see first is coming the background, then is coming the time text and at the actual time, and then the button later. So I think it's pretty nice. So now one more thing that we have to do is we want to add a track. We want to add a event track and trigger. Okay, and now here on the 1 second mark, before we start to show the time, we want to add a key. Now when we double click the key, we'll add a custom event that will play from here. Okay, and here on this custom event, we want to actually rename this to be like best time with space or underscore or whatever. Here what we want to do, we want to get player controller, and we want to show mouse cursor, set show mouse cursor like this, and set it to true. And after that, we want to get our game mode ref. We don't have it here, so I actually think we have to, we have to create the variable first. So let's create a new variable. It will be called game mode ref, and the variable type will be called pp first person game mode and object reference, the blue one. Now let's make it instance editable and expose on spawn so we can actually promote it when we create this widget. So now let's compile, let's save all, and let's go to the pp first person game mode. And here, after we had removed the player HUD reference, the widget. We want to create widget like this. And this widget will be called the finish, and you can see we have this game mode ref pin here. We can get the reference to self. So we are basically promoting ourself to a variable. So we are like giving our reference to this widget at the when we create it on the event construct basically. So now we want to promote this to a variable. This will be called finish screen ref. Now let's move it under, why is this so small? Let's move it under the reference folder like this. And now from here we want to add to viewport this one. And then we want to right click, get player controller again. And we want to set input mode UI only. So we can control our player anymore. And in widget to focus, what we want to do, we want to get the finish screen reference. Like this, simple as that. Compile. Let's save all. Now we want to go back to the finish screen widget. Let's go to the event graph. And let's delete everything else than the event construct. Oh, what did I do? I didn't want to. How can I? Okay, I will just delete it and get it again. Event construct like this. So what we want to do here is we want to get the open anim and we want to play it. So we will play it when we start the game. Okay, let's select this and align like that. So now when we create this widget, we will play this animation. Now let's actually also create the closing animation. So let's compile, save all, let's go to the designer. And here what we want to do, let's actually duplicate this open anim and let's call it close anim. Let's double click it to open it. Let's delete everything from here like that. Now we have all these here, but actually let's also delete. Oh shit. Sorry about that. So now let's move this. Shit. So let's actually create a new animation called close anim. Let's double click it to open it. Here what we want to do, we want to get our background. Let's add a background track. Let's add a render opacity. Let's set it to 0.75 at the start. And let's go to the 0.5 and let's set it to 1. Like that. Now, what else we want to do here is we want to add a current time track and also render opacity. Oh, let's actually delete it. Annoying. Okay, sorry about that. Here on the 0 mark, we want to add a render opacity key of 1 second. Here at the 0.5, we want to set it to 0. Let's go back to the 0 mark. Let's add a time text track. And here, let's add a render opacity. And let's make it 1. And at the end, 0.5 mark, let's make it 0. Now let's go back to the start. Let's get the button. Let's add a restart button, track. Let's add a render opacity 1 here and 0 on the 0.5. So now this animation will look like this. Basically the screen will go black. Now let's also add a event track trigger. Here at the 0.5 mark, let's add a key. Let's double click that. And this will just execute console command. And what we want to do now is restart level. So it will basically restart the level. Simple as that. Now we can actually continue with this best time thing here. Now we have the game mode ref. Let's get that. And do we have the is best? Oh, we haven't created that yet. So let's go to the, let's actually compile and save all just to be sure. Let's go back to the PB first person game mode. And here we want to create a new function called is new best time, something like that. It doesn't matter. Is new high score or whatever. So let's get our time. Let's check if it's less than our, let's get the save game reference. From here we want to get the best time. So if our time is less than our best time, let's add a branch. If it is, then what we want to do, we want to get this save game ref again. And we want to set best time. Now we want to set it to be the time value. So let's get the time again. So if our time is better than the best time, then we will set the best time to be the time. Okay. After that, we will get also the from the save game ref, and we want to save game to slot. After this, let's add a reroute here, and let's also align them. And our slot name will be the save game slot that we created before. So save game. After that, we want to add a return node, because we want to add here an output called new best, and we want to set it to true here. Okay, compile and save. Now let's go to the back to the finish widget. Here now we want to call the is new best time this. Now we have this here, which also checks tells us if we got a new best time. So let's add a branch and check that. And if we got a best time, what we want to do, we want to get our time text, which is the text here, which is time. If we get a new best time, we want to set text on this under the content, because we want this text now to be new best time. Okay? And after that, what we want to do is we want to get our current time, and we want to set color and opacity. Okay, now we want to right click on this to split it, so we will get the color basically. Now let's change this to some shade of green. Something like that. You can play with it later. Like that. Okay. And the last thing, let's go to the event graph. And here let's select our restart button on clicked event. Why did it create it here? Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's leave it here on the sequencer events. And we want to get the close anim, and we want to just play it. Play animation. Like that. So now, when we compile, we save all, and we go to play. Let's see what will happen. Play, let's shoot the target. You see, this works, but we haven't set the time yet correctly. Okay, let's fix that. Save game, trying to read properly, save game ref. Okay. Okay, that was because we have to go to the PP first person game mode. And here on the event begin play on the event graph, we have to call this load create save game function. So now, compile and save. And oh, also on the finish, we have to add the, let's go to the designer, let's click on the current time, and let's bind this text, let's create a binding. And what we want to do here is, let's move this a little bit further. And let's get our game mode ref. Let's get our time. From here, let's connect it to here. We'll get this to text float. Let's open it. And use grouping, not maximum integral digits, like that. And also maximum fractional digits, like that. Compile and save. Now, when we go to play, when we shoot this target, we will get new best time. And you can see it's green because we got a new best time. When we click restart, game will start again. It's not ready yet, but yes, it's starting to be soon. If we don't get a new best time, like now, we won't get new best time. And actually I noticed that our time was running after we finished the level, so let's fix also that. I think that's on the BB first person game mode, and on the here on the yeah, where we finished the game. I actually forgot, after we check if the points are equal to total points, we want to, let's move this a little bit further right. We want to set the game running back to false. Otherwise it will run until the game gets paused. Okay, so now when we compile, save and play, it will stop. So you check the time, it will stop. Okay, that's not the new best time. Let's try again. Now it should be, and you can see new best time 0.53. Okay, this is already working pretty nicely. So the next thing what we want to do is we want to go to the main menu widget. We want to create a little animation here. Let's call this start anim or open anim or something like that. Let's add our oh, we have to actually first add the thing here. So let's get a image. Let's move it to here. Let's anchor it to the full screen. Let's zero out all the offsets. Let's make it black, like that. And let's call this background. Now let's select start anim, select the background, and let's add a track. Let's add a render opacity 1, and let's go to the 1 second mark. Let's set it to 0. Okay, like this. And also now when we click off the animation, so it's not blue anymore, let's select this background. Let's scroll down to the render opacity, and let's make it 0. And also here on the visibility, let's make it non-hit testable, self only, like that. Now when we click on the animation, you can see it's there, but when we click off, it's not visible. You can see all the things here. Okay, let's compile, save all. Let's try again. Oh, we have to actually call that to play on the event construct. So let's go to the main menu, and to the graph. Here on the event construct, let's delete everything else. Here we want to get our start animation and we want to play it. This compile, save, let's play. Now you can see we have this animation when the game starts. When we finish the game, you can see it looks a lot better when we restart. It will look like that. It looks super smooth. Now, a few more things that we want to do here will be... So we want to add a real level environment. So let's go to the fab. Let's select the environments. Let's select price free, and you can obviously select whatever you want from here, but I will go for the spaceship environment. Now you want, if you select this one, you want to select the license to be personal, it will be free. Then you want to add it to a library, and after that, when you click from the download, and from here, you click on the Epic Games Launcher. I think it should open it to the right page. Library, and now let's search for a space. Okay, it's actually on our projects, not the project, sorry about that. Here under the library. Spaceship interior environment. Add to project, let's select our project. Target shooter. Let's add it. Let's wait for it to add. It's 670 megabytes, so it will take a little while. Few minutes. I will skip this part. So now we should have it on our project. Here we have this spaceship interior. Okay, let's open the maps. Let's see. Let's open the demonstration maybe. So now it downloaded, it is preparing the shaders, and we have all these nice things here. So let's create our game basically. So now that we are here, we want to actually go to the project settings, and we want to search for a level, or actually is it called map? I think it's called map. Okay, here, editor startup map. Let's select our overview, demonstration map, also demonstration here. And now we can close the settings. And here on the demonstration, let's add a player start. So let's click this and search for a player start. Let's add it, move it to here maybe. Let's rotate it 90 degrees, move it a little bit up like that. Then we want to go to the world settings, select game mode override. We want to select the PP, first person game mode. Now if we play, let's see what happens. Yes, the map is showing. We can play, but we don't have anything here yet. So how we can fix that is by adding the targets first. So let's get a target. First target maybe here. Let's make it a little bit more there. Okay, let's make it not to move. Okay, second target, let's duplicate it. So Control and D. Let's move it here. And now let's add a little bit of movement. So let's copy the starting location to here. Let's move it here. Copy the location now to the end location. The time, let's make it like 4, maybe like even 5, so it will be super slow. Then let's go to here. Let's add here a few of these targets, rotate them 90 degrees like this. And the first one, not like that. Let's move it here. Let's add a little movement, move. Let's copy the start location. Let's move it to here. Let's copy the end location. Time, let's make it also like 6. Now let's duplicate this whole thing. Let's move it to here. Actually, maybe to here. Start location from here. End location, let's put it to maybe here. So let's copy the location, paste it here. Time, let's make it like 4, so they're a little bit off sync. Then let's add here like the last ones. So one of these to here, and let's move it to here. Move start location, let's copy it, paste. Let's move to here, copy, paste. Let's make this a little bit faster. Let's make it like 5. I think the distance is super long, so 5 will be good. And now Control D. Let's duplicate it once more. This one will go to here. Let's move it up a little bit. Turn it like this. And now starting location. Let's put it here. Copy the location. Paste it. And location. Copy. Paste and speed like 4. So now we have all these. Now the game is already playable, but we will add a little main menu camera thing here. So how we can do that? We want to actually add a... where do we want to add it? Maybe here. Yeah, something like this. Okay. Let's add a camera actor. Let's move it to maybe here. Let's rotate it. We can see here what the camera is seeing. Let's move it a little bit further up. Let's rotate it downwards. Maybe like this, something like that. Actually, maybe backwards. Oh, that was not backwards. Sorry. Maybe to here. And now from the green one backwards, maybe to here. Okay. And now let's open our level blueprint. Let's make sure that our camera actor is selected. Let's call this actually main menu camera. Now let's see that it's selected, so it's blue. Here is the demonstration on the begin play. Let's delete the event tick. Let's right click and create a reference to main menu. And you cannot do this reference to anything else than the level blueprint. But also, of course, if you want to get this to some other blueprint, you can like cast from here, get the past the reference and stuff like that. For now, it will go like this. So let's right click and get player controller to here. Now set view target with blind. And the new view target will be the camera, and everything else can be like that. So let's compile, let's save. Now, when we start the game, you can see we're seeing through the camera. Okay, but how? Now when we click this, we cannot play. Actually, we can play, but we cannot see anything. So how we can fix that is by, we want to go to the game mode. Here are the game mode on the start, on the begin play. And not on the begin play, on the start game, where we get amount of targets, we enable the input, create player HUD. It's not here either. Where do we do it actually? Oh yeah, we actually may do it on the main menu. Here on the on-clicked play. Yeah, we want to do it here. After we disable the input and we remove from parent, let's move this further here. We want to get the player controller again. Then we want to set view target with blend. Now the new view target will be get player character. So it will possess the camera of the player character. Plane time, let's make it 1. Now we want to remove it, and before we cast to the first person game mode and start the game, we want to set a delay of 1 second, because this blend time is 1 second. So now when we compile, we save all, we go to the demonstration, we play. Let me actually put this to the full screen. So now when we click play, actually one more thing that I noticed, we have this borders here on the window. So let's fix that also. We have the main menu, camera selected. We want to camera options, constrain aspect ratio to false. Save, play again. So now when we start the game, we will see it on the full window. And let's actually play. But I noticed that we have this little problem here. So how we can fix it? We cannot fit through here. We can make our player smaller or our doors collision bigger, or disable it. So let's select one of these door parts, and we have this sci-fi door 0 to frame. Let's select all of these sci-fi doors. Let's see if we have even more of those. We actually don't, I think. We have all sci-fi doors selected. Now on the all, scroll down to the collision, which is here. Collision presets, let's set them to no collision. Let's play. So now we are able to play the game as it's supposed to be played. So we can pass through here. Okay, and when we restart, one thing that I noticed though is we cannot see these that well. So let's actually fix that quickly. So let's go to the main menu and to the designer. Here, let's select our. You cannot select through here because we have the background over them. So let's select from here. Let's right click and let's wrap with a border. And now under the color and opacity, yeah. No. We want to go to the border. Sorry, we are not there. So under the brush, under the tint, we want to set this to black, like 0.75, something like that, And now let's also wrap this best time with the border. Let's actually, I have not selected that again. Now the tint under the brush, black, and 0.75. Okay, and now when we compile, save, and play, you can see we have these little things under here, so we can actually see what is happening there. So I think that was actually all for this video. If you like what you saw, please click the like button and subscribe for more. And yeah, hope you have a great day and see you on the next one. Bye!